Muy bien, lo prometido es deuda. El día de ayer les estuve mencionando de que les iba a compartir un poco de la historia del submarino que está aquí en la ciudad de Arkansas, en Little Rock. Bueno, este es el famoso, el USS Razorback 394. Y la historia dice de que es el submarino con más años de existencia en lo que es el área de servicio en el área militar. Así es de que este submarino el 9 de septiembre de 1943 se le instaló la quilla. ¿Qué es la quilla? La quilla es la parte que va de abajo de lo que lleva el submarino o que llevan los barcos, una base de metal que va hasta lo largo para ir rompiendo el camino en lo que es la mar. Bueno, en el año 1944 fue lanzado al agua para mirar el funcionamiento del submarino. Y después, el 30 de enero de 1970, el submarino, dice la historia, de que fue transportado para Turquía. Bueno, para con un propósito de servicio en lo que es el área militar, el área marítima en Turquía. Así es de que este submarino estuvo sirviendo por todos esos años allá, por 53 años estuvo sirviendo, pero también, también sirvió a lo que es dos diferentes países. Y luego después, en el año 2001, la ciudad de Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, lo pidió a Turquía como una donación para el museo de exhibición aquí en Little Rock. Y en el año 2004 se lo estuvieron transportando hasta aquí, hasta Little Rock, en Arkansas. Así es de que en este momento vamos a mostrarle un poco de este recorrido al submarino y le invitamos que nos acompañe. Youtuberos, sálvate. Bien, en este momento vamos subiendo para ingresar al submarino, al USS Razorback SS-394. Voy a bajar yo a Marcia, si quieres. Esta es la entrada al submarino. Okay. Vamos a ingresar en este momento. Vete, Marce. Vete, Marce. ¿A este lado, Marce? Vete, Marce. Pon los pies aquí. Eso. Ven mirando ahí, mano. Dale para abajo. Escalera. Dale. Dale, mami. Good job, Marcy. Good job, Marcy. Ya, Marcy. Micaela. Rápido, hijos. Dale, Mateo.
Oh, like it's very
Muy bien.
close. So
Ya estamos aquí dentro del submarino. Viene bajando la última persona.
We know how to get off the boat real fast. It's insane. Okay, so everybody's down. So this moves now. What's that? This is the after torpedo compartment. This is where 8 of the 24 torpedoes would have been stored. So they would have had 4 stored in those torpedo tubes behind us, and then there would be a spare reload for each tube. So one where you see these torpedoes now, and there would be an additional torpedo stored underneath each one. You can see the kind of explosive devices these torpedoes used in here though. So this green one on the right, you see one has that copper band in the middle back there? So that one's going to be a bubble actually breaking the ship in half.
Y aquí a los lados tienen los misiles.
The black one on the left, that's the one that they would have used during World War II. It has that copper nose piece, so that one would have been a collision-based explosive. You're going to actually have to hit the target for it to explode. The Mark 14s had a long history of not working very well. They actually started with the magnetic explosives inside of them, but whenever they calibrated, they didn't account for the weight of the explosives themselves, so when they added those back in, they all shot too low and would miss every time. So they switched over to these collision-based, and they decided to try to save money by not testing them, so only about 50% of them worked. There was actually a submarine that went out fully loaded with 24 torpedoes, fired 23 of them, and not a single one of them exploded. Wow. So they did have a hot rack. It was 3 guys to 2 bunks, so when one guy's done working, he comes, knocks the next guy out of bed, he gets to work, and the other guy gets to sleep. Then there's this right here. This is the first of 4 heads on board. Head is the naval term for the toilet. There's only 4 toilets for the entire 100-man crew. There's actually a 13-step process just to flush the toilet. If you get any of those 13 steps wrong, instead of going down, everything in the toilet shoots up. That's called getting whooshed. Oh. The next room is the maneuvering room. It's a little too small for us to fit 7 people in, so I'm going to go ahead and meet y'all in the room after that. Feel free to look around, take pictures, do whatever you want to do. Just don't play with the letters.
No, electricity, no.
Right. Okay.
Hiçbir şey değil, tamam mı? Geç yavaşça.
Çok da
Orada konuşurken de konuşma.
Es el toile que usaban. La palanca verde que se mira es para fluchar el agua.
Biliyor musun aletleri? Ne kadar değişik.
Ama sonra bir
Entramos a toda la maquinaria de controles del submarino. Esa es la siguiente entrada, la entrada número 2 de adentro del submarino.
That's one of our emergency exits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Değişik şeyler var, görüyor musun?
You can turn that on, okay?
Perdón, estos son los motores.
All it's going to do is
Miren
it's
los
going to make the
pistones.
engine noise come on, okay?
This one?
Las bielas,
Abi deyince bunu döndürecek misin şimdi değil mi?
Okay, take it. You're going to move it all the way over here to where it says start. Okay?
I don't want to do.
Because these engines, they ran very hot. It got up to about 130 degrees in this room. So that's why these pictures right here are definitely staged. There's no chance they'd be wearing that much clothing in here. At most, they'd be wearing underwear and a t-shirt. So there would only be about 4 guys working in here at a time. So every room on board the submarine has 2 floors. So the floor underneath us is just the same room we're in now, just flipped upside down, a little tighter space. So we'd have 2 guys working on the floor we're on now, 2 guys working in the floor down below us. They could work for about an hour before they had to rotate out and get rehydrated, or they start passing out. So that's not really something you want to do.
And sometimes there's that too.
The other job of the guys back there is they got to control the propellers. So they got to choose if the boat was going forward or backwards, and then the speed of the boat as well.
vamos cruzando la tercera entrada del submarino.
Razorback whale.
It's a great
Okay. I've always wondered what Murat Reese was. We can actually shoot torpedoes out the front of the boat and out the back.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm on the top sometimes.
Well, not ours. Ours doesn't shoot out the top. That, I think the last room we were in, originally sitting here. So they repurposed it for scrap metal, so about half of it is left down there now. So these last thing in here are these 2 things behind me. These are our freshwater stills. Each of these can make about 1,000 gallons of water a day, which seems like a lot, but they had to use that fresh water to cool the engines and then for the batteries. And since the engines themselves were about 100 degrees, it kept the rest of the boat, or 130 degrees, it kept the rest of the boat right at 100 degrees. So they had to hydrate them in. Hydration was really important. But that means hygiene kind of fell by the wayside. They actually only got a 30-second shower every 2 weeks. So it really stank.
Entrada número 4.
Baktığınız falan gibi şey. Lavabo.
Otro toilet.
Birileri varsa gidiyorlar çalışıyor.
La ducha. Sí. Ayúdale a Marcia ahí, vamos, ¿qué pasa? Y estos son los dormitorios, los camarotes que tenía el submarino. Tiene, bueno, que existía, ¿verdad? También en aquel tiempo.
Yeah. You can sit down if you want to.
Esta es la cocina, el comedor.
One of the things that they did whenever they got it, so we actually had board games made into the tables. So these two were backgammon and then those two were checkers and chess. But whenever it went over to Turkey, they took the board games out and replaced it with just normal tables. Do you have any idea why they would do that?
Aki saat lunch.
So they had 100 men for 90 days. So that was going to be a lot of food that they needed to store places. They had a refrigerator and freezer down there. And then they had a small dry pantry down below me. But that wasn't going to be enough food for all the people that they had. So what they did is they actually took tons and tons of cans like this, lined that entire hallway and stacked them too high, and actually walked on top of that until they ate down to the deck. Incentive for people to actually volunteer for it. So they said they could get really good food, and they actually ate like shrimp, lobster, steak on a pretty regular basis. Fluid line and hydraulic fluid leaked down in the coffee pot. So everybody on board the submarine drank coffee, just the entire day they're drinking coffee. So it gave the entire patrol diarrhea for about 2 to 3 weeks. And nobody actually knew who did it. Even the guy that did it, he was drinking coffee too, so there was nobody that was like, oh, I think.
Aquí están. Estas son cabinas de controles. Aquí está la mera. Controles.
So this is the control room. This is basically the brains of the sub. It's where they control the diving and surfacing of the boat. So down below us is the sonar room. Looks like this right here. It's about as big as this table. They'd have 2 or 3 guys down there at all times, and they have 2 different sonars down there. They have the active sonar, which is the one you see in movies. It sends out that big ping. Problem is they didn't actually use that because when they send out that ping, everybody around you can hear it. So they just use their passive sonar, which is a microphone down in the water listening to everything all the time. So in this room right here, so see that green lever right there?
Yeah.
Okay, take that and pull it to the right. Whoever's over there, whoever wants.
I can't reach it.
You wanna pull it? Okay, that's the dive alarm, so it's gonna make a little bit of noise. No, pull it to the right. Oh, there we go. That was loud. Yeah. So what they would do is they would pull that twice and yell dive through the 1MC right beside it. That means you have 30 seconds to get all the hatches shut and sealed before you start getting wet. Ideally, you have a green board or a straight board, meaning all the hatches are shut and sealed. But if one of the hatches is still open and it's an emergency, they're going to go down regardless and just hope that hatch gets shut pretty quickly. So the other 2 alarms up there, the yellow one is the general alarm. It's basically man your battle station. And then the red one is the collision alarm. So that's the one you really never wanted to hear. Both of those are emergency alarms. So whenever you pull them, they continue to ring for about 2 minutes. And that's when we don't get to play with those. No, we're not doing that. So in the room up above us, that's where the rest of this stuff is right here. We have 2 periscopes, we have a radar, we got some torpedo data computers, and we have the main helm as well. Something about the submarine is they have backups in every different room. Just in case one room floods, they can still use the submarine in a fully functioning manner. So if that room up there floods, they have a backup helm down here, and then you can also manually aim and fire the torpedoes from the torpedo compartments themselves. Basically the only other thing in this room are these phones, and you'll see the phones throughout the whole boat, and they usually have a little gray box beside them. The little gray box is called the growler. So you can turn that to whatever room you're wanting to talk to, and then create a little thing on the side, and that makes a little ringing noise. But there are some phones like this one right here that doesn't have a growler next to it. So those are going to be the captain's phones. He's going to be able to pick those phones up and hear what the different compartments are talking about because they're all sound powered. So when you're talking one, it comes out all of them.
I think that's an emergency. Out.
No, so that one actually isn't one that we use for emergency exits.
Oh.
So right now, we are right under this box. We started at this hatch right here. We came through and we got 2 little rooms left. So if you go up that ladder, you just go up into this little box right here. So it's not really great for exiting.
I thought the submarine were this is, but it's huge.
Oh, it's huge. It's about 311 feet long, so it's a little longer than a football field.
Entrada número 5.
Oh my god, it scared me.
¿Así como? Bueno, aquí lo que hay son las armas que usaban. Miren. Y aquí a uno de los que controlaban aquí como secretario. Otro dormitorio. Estos son los dormitorios de los capitanes. Su zinc de agua, su espejo, propio dormitorio y su propia oficina.
So this is forward battery, also known as officer's country. So the other room back there behind us that had all those bunks in it, that was after battery. So under each of these compartments is 126 of our 252 lead acid batteries. Each of these batteries weighed around 2,000 pounds and they all had to be taken off in Turkey. So when those were taken off, that was 252 tons of weight that was taken off. So we actually rose 3 feet higher in the water than we were previously. So this room is really the biggest difference between the 2 battery compartments. This is the ward room. The officers ate here. They ate the same food as everybody else. It was just brought back here to this little pantry. I'll put on some nicer plates for the officers. This was also their map plotting room. So if you pick up the tablecloth down there, yes, there is.
What is happening?
There's a charting device right there, so they can lay their map across that and has a little light where they can trace the stuff out. Yeah. And then this was also their med bay. So if they had to have any kind of operation,
People something everywhere.
yeah, they had, and every space is filled with something. So if they had to have any kind of operations, this is the biggest table on board. So you just lay them across here, work on them, wipe the table off, and you're good to go. The biggest issue with that is the corpsmen were not usually that well trained. Submarines were considered hazardous, so they didn't want to use their well-trained medics. A lot of the time they were just trained in first aid. So luckily there wasn't any kind of super major surgery like heart surgery, any kind of like that. There were some abscessed teeth that had to be removed on board this submarine, but there were others during World War II that did have to have appendectomies done. But as far as all our records show, there were no major injuries or death caused by surgery. So we're going to count that as a win.
Eran las pertenencias. Ella. Otro toilet.
Yep, I agree. Well, this is the last room, and we're going to go.
Is that where we go, right?
Yep.
How'd you go?
Well, you don't have to swim, hopefully. I'm hoping you don't have to swim whenever you get off.
Okay. ¿Quién va primero?
What's your step? Gracias.
Actually, I'm gonna go last.
Eskiden ladder tutuyordum ama artık yandım.
A ver si tiene que subir uno primero.
Ladder.
Tiene que subir uno primero.
Ladder
Dale
tutarsın
para
aslında.
adelante.
Öyle tutmam lazım.
Está lloviendo ya. No te vayas a soltar, mamá, ¿ok? Tienes que ir agarrando bien el hijo, ¿ok? Me voy yo detrás para poder ayudar a Marce. Está lloviendo. Ahí voy para ayudarte. Espérese, hijo. Espérese, hijo. ¿Me lo que le?
It's raining.
No te vas a soltar, hijo.
Ok.
Agárrate bien, hijo.
Everybody, be careful again with your eyebrows.
Bueno, para cerrar con broche de oro, después de salir de ese paseo del submarino, hemos venido aquí a Samurai Japanese Food. Así es de que estamos por aquí con la familia para poder compartir este momento de comida. Y es un lugar muy bonito, un restaurante muy bonito donde uno se sienta aquí alrededor. Está aquí la mesa y aquí le están preparando la comida al gusto de cada persona.
No more fire, my friend. That's it. That's it. We're going to do Mr. Humpty Dumpty. Right? We need a little more sauce. Oh! Wow! Humpty Dumpty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. It's a baby boy. Open your mouth. Open your mouth, mommy. 1, 2, 3, go. Alright, sir, open your mouth. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's coming. Open your mouth. Come on, lady. Alright, ma'am, open your mouth.
You're getting a greater.
Okay. And Chinese Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper.
Yes. everybody get ready for fried rice. Massive lemon. Here. Massive lemon.
Oh, mayo.
No, está bien. Okay. Does anybody want more rice? Anybody?
No, la hermana María chorizo for her. Bien, sushi, mira. Hola, hermana María.
Alright, everybody again be careful with the eyebrows. Hey! Here we come. Butter. Gasoline. Fireworks. Wow. Yummy, yummy, Emma Tommy. Got chicken nuggets and Happy Meal. Baby lobster. How are you doing? Alright, so you need the same order, right, man? So you can get the trio, right? So you have right. So how do you want to put it? Chicken and baby lobster, is that right? What do you want? Or you want to have baby lobster? How do you want to put the chicken? How do you want to put the chicken? Baby lobster?
De esta forma es como le sirven la comida aquí, se la cocinan todo fresquecito, calientito, totalmente. Estamos en Samurai Japanese food. ¿Cómo está la comida ahí? ¿Está buena?
Alright, here we come with chicken nuggets and Happy Meal. What can I say except you're welcome? You can be famous, man.
Bueno, ese es mi platote que me están sirviendo. El plato de pajarito. Es la comida de pajarito. ¿Verdad que sí, pajarito? Sí, dice pajarito.
Alright guys, how's everything okay? Anything else, you guys good? Thank you.
Muy bien, de esta forma nos estamos despidiendo, ya que pues como dicen, pancita llena, corazón contento. Así es de que muchas gracias a cada uno de ustedes que se mantuvo hasta el final de este video. Así es de que deseamos que Dios bendiga su vida. Y recuerde una vez más, si usted es nuevo en visitar mi canal Youtubero Salvatex, le invitamos que se suscriba al canal, dele like al video y compártalo y clic a la campanita para que no se pierda ninguno de mis videos. Muchas gracias y hasta el próximo video.